The countryside sure is beautiful this time of year.
It's art time with Mr. Mayberry. Let's get busy.
Welcome to Art Time with Mr. Mayberry. A landscape is a picture of land. Today I'm going to show you how to draw a springtime landscape. Now I'm starting on a 9 by 12 inch piece of drawing paper out of a sketch pad. If you have a larger size of paper available, you might want to use that because that'll give you more room to draw things. Now, let's get started. It's time to make some art. Today we're making a spring landscape. And if you haven't seen them already, you might also check out making a fall landscape and making a winter landscape. Well, let's get started. Today I'd like you to have your paper the landscape way, also known as horizontal. And we're just using a regular pencil to draw. Now later on we're going to be adding color and you'll have other options. I'm going to be using color pencil, but you can use other things as well if you'd like. The first thing I'd like to do is go ahead and draw a horizon line, and that is the imaginary line where the sky and the earth meet, and that's usually drawn up towards the top of the paper. I've mentioned to you in other lessons that there are three locations in a landscape. You have far away, which is known as the background, and that's up here on the horizon or horizon line. And then you have close up, and that's known as the foreground. And so anything that's down low here on the page usually is in the front, in the foreground. And then you have the space in between, which is known as the middle ground. And that's, again, located usually towards the center of your paper. Now, what I want to do today is to kind of set up those three areas, and give a little bit of structure to what goes in those areas. And then I'd like you to choose or include what you'd like to within those areas. So I'll explain that as we go further along here. So anyway, in the background we have the horizon line. We're going to start with that. And then let's come down a little ways. And in the middle ground, I'm going to draw a huge rock that's sitting in the middle of a pond. And so in the middle ground, it's a giant rock, but it's not real close to us, so it's not as big as it could be or would be if it was closer to us. Now I said it's sitting in a pond, so here's the basic surface of the rock, and then at the bottom I'm going to make a wavy line just to show that it's in some water. And then also I want to make it look like it's in a bigger body of water, so I'm going to start back here and make a line that goes behind the rock, and then it comes out over here. Now if we were looking at this pond, it's more of a pond than a lake. If we were looking at this pond from above, it might look like an oval or a circle, but because it's going away from us, it's receding away from us, it's going to be like you would take that oval and tilt it, and so the ends become more pointy than they do round. And so actually I'm going to make it kind of an odd shape here. It's not exactly an oval, but it does look more flat because it's going away from us into space. This side I think I'll make go off the page over here. Okay, so that's how you make it look like the water is going farther away from us, is that you would put the top and bottom, or the far side and the close side, actually closer together from this angle. They look closer together than they would if you were looking down from above. So there is a rock sitting in a pond. And then on the bottom here, so this is in the middle ground. Again, the background, the horizon line, middle ground, a rock in a pond, and then up close I'm going to put a giant flower. It's actually just a normal size flower, but because it's so close to us, it looks giant. So there's the center of this flower, and it's going to be kind of a daisy flower. I'm just going to make some petals sticking out here. In fact, it looks like it's going to overlap part of the pond there. This one's going to go off the side of the page. And don't be afraid to go off the edge of the page. It just helps it make it look even closer because it's so big it's going off the edge of the page. Then I'll erase inside of that petal over here. And you might have to work with the shape of the flower to get it to look the way you want. Always start off drawing light, because then if you make a mistake or change your mind, it's a lot easier to erase. But you can always go back and make it darker. It's a lot easier to make it darker than it is to try to make something lighter. So that's a good lesson to learn when drawing. Okay, so let's see, I'll need a stem for my flower. I'm going to put it right about here, and it looks huge because it is so close to us. And maybe some leaves sticking out. There's one. This other one's going to be covered up. Of course, that's another concept that we use in landscape is overlapping. When something is closer to you, you see more of it. If it's farther away, then a lot of times it gets covered up by whatever's in the front. So that's overlapping. And that helps to create, all these things together help create a sense of depth. Having things far away look small, things closer to us look big. Things far away are up higher on the page. Things closer to us are lower on the page. And overlapping, those all work together. And then the other thing will be, in just a second, we'll look at color. Things that are farther away generally look lighter in color than things that are close up. They'll look darker if it's closer to you, or more vivid, more bold if it's closer to you, and kind of lighter or more pastel if it's farther away. Okay, so there's 3 locations here. I think also I'll put some grass blades down here at the bottom, just different sizes, random grass blades. Try not to make a pattern too much, but going across the bottom here. Just something else to show that there is a foreground. And one more thing, I think back here in the background I'm going to put some mountains, which are huge, but it's because they are so far away, they look tiny. They don't look so big. Now I've got to be careful not to get too much of a pattern there. I want to be a little more random. Okay, this looks too patterny here. I'm going to go ahead and change. Let's get rid of this last one. And I think I'll just lower it. And then this one I'll make it, make this, well, no, that would match the other one. Okay, that'll be good. We'll just leave it like that. Okay, so I have mountains in the background. I have a rock in the middle ground and a flower in the foreground. The other thing to think about too is detail. Things that are far away are going to look more fuzzy, have less detail. Things that are close up, you're going to see all the details when it's really close to you. And that, again, all those things together help to make it look more realistic. It gives it that atmospheric perspective and that 3D look by using all those different things together. The last part of this is I want to have you finish and decide what are you going to put in each of these areas. I want you to draw something in the background on the mountains, something on the rock, and something on or near the flower. Okay, so that's going to be up to you and what you choose to do in each of these areas. I want you to go ahead and do that, and then I would use colored pencil on this to color because there's a lot of tiny places, and it's just easier to color tinier spots with colored pencil. You can make it look nice. You can blend your colors. But that's what I'd like you to do. Now I'm going to show you an example here in just a second of how I finish this picture. But that is the assignment, is to go ahead and add something to each of these grounds. Okay, now let's take a look at how I completed my drawing. All right. I used colored pencil to color in, and I thought that worked really well. Of course, you can use other things, but to me that worked very good. I started off in the background and very lightly colored in the sky and the mountains, and then gradually, as I came lower down and closer to the foreground, I added more color, so made it darker, and also used darker colors, darker versions of green. So like the grass in the back is a lighter version of green, and the grass in the foreground is a darker version of green. So that all helps to create that sense of space or atmospheric perspective in the drawing. I decided to draw up close. I drew a bumblebee sitting on the flower, and so you can see a lot of detail with the bumblebee. You can see the stripes and the eyes and the wings, and you can see all the close-up details here. And then we go further back to the middle ground, and on the rock I chose to draw a frog. And then way in the background, you can barely see it, it's just a little dot. That's actually a mountain goat, but because it's so far away, it looks just like a tiny little dot. I also added a bit of a reflection here in the water of the big rock. So go ahead and finish your drawing, add things to the background, middle ground, and foreground, and then add color. Take your time, do a good job, have fun with it, and that's our project for today, making a spring landscape. Well, that's all for now. If you like spring things, check out Draw Time with Mr. Mayberry, Springtime Edition. Thanks for coming to the art room, and I'll see you next time.
See you later. Hi, bye.